Alright, y'all, so it's about damn time. Let's talk about Jannik Sinner. So when I last left you guys in the Asian swing, the fall of Jannik Sinner was already well underway. He had secured the Beijing title, defeating a very informed Grigor Dimitrov, then Carlos Alcaraz, and a maiden win over Daniil Medvedev in the final to win that title. Little bit of a blip in Shanghai after losing to Ben Shelton, who had himself quite a good fall. But then Sinner proceeded to take out another really impressive 500 in Vienna. Super workmanlike, avenged his loss to Shelton, didn't drop a set en route to the final, including wins over Tiafoe, Rublev. And then really cemented that, the tide is turning here in that head-to-head against Medvedev, one that even in the first half of 2023 he was still having so many problems with. But, that Vienna final was a really underratedly great match. Super physical match here, given that Sinner, in Beijing, he had played that final more to the playbook against Daniil Medvedev with, a bunch of net approaches, employing serve volley a bunch, mixing up, the pace from the back of the court, making the slice a much bigger feature of his game, etc., etc. All this has been talked ad nauseum regarding the tactics against Medvedev, but that Vienna final, on the other hand, was played much more to the terms that Daniil Medvedev would like. It was a whole lot more just living at the baseline, Sinner leaning more on his dynamite power off both wings from the back of the court. And historically, in this head-to-head, Medvedev had thrived given those patterns of play. Even earlier in the year in a match like Rotterdam, that final was also super high quality, but the biggest dent you could see Jannik put in Daniil's armor was really just redlining, and he couldn't keep that up for more than a set and a half. Obviously in that match, at that point in time, Sinner not really comfortable using some of the weapons that he's developed within this year itself, the volleying, the slice more, employing more drop shots. So, on fading legs, pretty much all he could do was just go bombs away, and obviously that proved not to be sustainable. Here in Vienna, though, he was stunning for a set and a half, slumped a little bit, but regrouped absolutely brilliantly. I don't think Medvedev really tried anything different, just tried to go back to the usual MO, because again, the playing patterns within this final were those that historically had favored Medvedev in this head-to-head. But Sinner here regrouped in the third, and it seemed like, honestly, Medvedev was the first one who started looking a little bit weary in that third set. And I think that final was really a testament to, how far Sinner has come physically, again, even within this one calendar season. And then following that, we get to the World Tour Finals in Turin, which was the point at which I knew I had to make this video. Straight off the bat, in general, obviously, Sinner's struggles against the top 10 had been under the microscope a little bit until, this year, really. And quietly, the Tsitsipas matchup as well was 1-5 after the Australian Open this year. He's got 2 on the board. Obviously, Stefanos not enjoying the best season health-wise and, even otherwise. But 2 wins on the trot there, definitely a confidence boost, and took Tsitsipas out in straights in the first match of the round robin. And then, of course, we get to what was at that point a new best win of Jannik Sinner's career when he beat Novak Djokovic in the round robin. And, Djokovic has won this event in 2015, losing in the round robin, but beating him in this event at any stage has proven a really difficult task, and Novak was pretty much the favorite to take this title, I think, in most people's eyes going in. These are conditions that, given this iteration of Novak Djokovic, he thrives in. And these two in the round robin staged one of the matches of the year for sure. This one, again, a really tricky matchup. Sinner was yet to beat Djokovic at this point. In fact, the only sets he'd taken were those first 2 sets at Wimbledon last year. And those 2 sets aside, I know he played him in a tight straight setter in the Wimbledon semi this year, but that aside, coming into that match, Novak had pretty much had a chokehold on that rivalry. The other sets were pretty lopsided, but, the new and improved Jannik Sinner on probably the toughest litmus test of your form in the sport in Novak Djokovic. He completely validated his improvements. Very high quality match. I will say that, Sinner did show some of the finish line yips still in this match in the third set, but nonetheless, again, regrouped to win a third set tiebreaker against, Djokovic, whose tiebreak success in 2023 has had such a clean track record. And at the time of that win, considering that, he was able to regroup from not being able to close it earlier when he got the break in the third. I think he was up 4-2, 30-15, something like that. My first thought was, a win like that really can kind of usher in a new frontier for Sinner, where you might now have a whole lot more belief in those big moments. Of course, from there, he was given the chance in his third round-robin match to potentially eliminate Djokovic in the group stage. But of course, Jannik Sinner being the consummate professional that he is, and in general, I feel like it's just really difficult to suppress those competitive juices to just mail in a match for the sake of the bigger picture, even if it seemed practical, as it might have in this case. But credit to Sinner. I mean, Holger also had a 2-0 edge on him and squeaked out a really, really tough match in Monte Carlo, coming from behind to beat Sinner. And even in this one, Sinner had no reason to try, really. He more or less wrapped up his group, and Holger could have very well won this match. I believe he had break point at 4-3 to potentially serve it out. But Sinner hung tough and again presented with Medvedev for the third time over the course of this fall, and that's the one that I think really hammered home the change in dynamic in this matchup, because Medvedev didn't stick to his typical script against Sinner in this one. After going down a set, for him, it seemed like he actually started going bombs away quite a bit on, his serve, his forehand. It was really brave tennis, and for him, not the highest percentage. I think he recognized, some of the continued dynamics from the Vienna match, where just playing his standard game no longer overwhelmingly favored him. And, credit to Medvedev for recognizing that. Ultimately, in the third, it wasn't sustainable for him to keep playing that way. Again, Sinner, the steadier player, created some separation in the third set, and 3 wins on the trot against Daniil Medvedev in these conditions. A well-playing Daniil Medvedev at that is, absolutely nothing to scoff at. It's incredible, and it does seem like we're completely removed now from Daniil Medvedev having the upper hand at all in that matchup. Obviously, the final against Djokovic again, I think all of us knew it was going to be damn near impossible to beat Novak twice in 1 week in this one tournament. Did it to Roger Federer in 2015, losing in the group and then winning the final in relatively straightforward fashion, and this was no different. It did feel like Sinner, suffered a bit from the physical strain of just all of these very tight 3-setters that he'd been playing since his first match of the group. But honestly, in particular, the last 3 sets Novak Djokovic played in Turin this year, probably his best level of the entire year. And, given the year that he had, you can't say that lightly. But, he was super engaged, and again, these are the court conditions, the slick courts, low bounce, where Djokovic 3.0 really thrives. And regardless of his opponent's level, fatigue, whatever the case, in that mood, I don't think anybody on tour right now has shown the capacity on these particular courts to be able to hang with him, and it was never in doubt. But then, of course, a third meeting came between Djokovic and Sinner about a week later, and within those 2 weeks, again, we got a new best win of Jannik Sinner's career. Now, admittedly, I didn't watch this match aside from, I think, from 1-all or so in the third set. But certainly this was a match that meant something to Novak. After Turin, he did say that if he won Davis Cup, he might very well consider 2023 to be the best year of his career. And given how well his number 2 singles was playing, this was a great opportunity for the Serbs to conquer the Davis Cup again, second time in Novak's career after 2010. In fact, Italy was playing for their Davis Cup lives with that Sinner-Djokovic match, given Miomir Kecmanovic a little minor upset over Lorenzo Sonego in the first match of that rubber. So, back to the wall for Italy. Sinner absolutely delivered. Through the majority of that third set, it was Djokovic that was creating more of the chances. He was knocking on the door, applying constant pressure after an emphatic second set to level. Even before we got to the 4-5 game, obviously that's going to be the flashpoint of why this match will be remembered, but even before then, Djokovic was hardly dropping points on his serve throughout the third set. Meanwhile, Sinner, a couple of absolutely titanic service games, and in fact, the first service game for Jannik of the third set, where Novak was really pressing for an early break and, keep the momentum from the second set going. That game went 7 deuces, albeit Sinner only had to save 1 break point, but typically when Djokovic just keeps applying that unrelenting pressure, you expect the opponent to break. It feels like 95% of the time. And that continued throughout the set. There was another service game, I think, to get to 3-all, where Sinner went from 40 love to deuce and still was able to hold on. And then, of course, serving down 4-5. This is the one where everybody thought it was over. At 4-5, love 40, you're just saying, it was a great effort to stretch this third set out this far, but surely this has got to be it. And honestly, I think in these match points, it was Sinner that won it more than Djokovic lost it. His serve got him out of trouble a lot in these pressure moments. The first, I believe, was an extended rally where you would back Djokovic. He ended up hitting a slice long. Second one, I think, was a service winner ace. And then the third one, serve looked to have set up Sinner with an easy put away. Djokovic guessed right on the approach shot. He did have the line relatively open, but nonetheless, Sinner hit what was not an easy volley. Looked like it could have jammed him super close to his body, but he hit the volley for a winner. And after getting out of jail in that particular service game, Djokovic did play a tight 5-all game, and I have seen Novak be tight in moments like this, but most of the time he's still able to stay the course enough where even him playing tight, a lot of guys aren't really able to sniff that out and take advantage of it, but Sinner did so. Went on to serve out the match in relatively straightforward fashion, but obviously this is just so big. It's so rare that Novak Djokovic has lost a match when he's held match point. It's only the 4th time in his career. And while from the jump it had been very evident that Sinner had gotten better this year, even as late in the season as when he made the Wimbledon semi and won Toronto, I really didn't expect to be singing Sinner's praises, to the point where now I definitely feel that I was mistaken about just how high his upside is. To begin with, when you're that elite from the baseline and you are one of the 2 or 3 best returners in the sport, that alone can take you a long way in the sport. And Sinner this year has really developed these surrounding components of his game. He came out of the box one of the best ball strikers in the world. But this year, you're getting a beefed up serve, and he's emerged with all this variety. He's such an improved volleyer. He's shown the willingness to go to a slice, a drop shot, to the point where even if it doesn't always work, it's now at least very much present in his arsenal. And by the end of the year, it honestly felt like those shots were working for him more often than not by quite a bit. And after that Wimbledon semifinal in particular, I think more than anything else, I really questioned if Sinner had that dog in him. But if you beat Novak Djokovic down 3 match points in a match with some real magnitude for Novak, that's a pretty resounding answer to that question. And in the big picture, obviously, this time of year in the fall, it's sometimes hard to gauge how much it really means, given a lot of the times you see these outlier results with a lot of players fatigued at the end of the year, but this does feel like a big exception to that. So many milestones, so many boxes ticked off for Jannik this year. He won his first big title in Toronto, he made his first Grand Slam semifinal, and yet, even in the summer while he was doing those things, it did not feel as significant as him winning these 500s, making the World Tour Finals, winning this Davis Cup match. He truly does seem like a transformed player at the end of this year, and the only box that's left to be ticked is showing that this is who he is in best of 5. But for the first time, it does feel like mentally, as well as physically, and just the command he has over the different aspects of his game right now that he has added over the course of this year. For the first time, it seems like he is ready to tick that last box, heading into 2024. But that will do it for this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, it'd be much appreciated if you could drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Definitely going to try to close the year strong, fill in with some of the content I was intending to put out ever since the summer. But yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I will see y'all in the next one.